What's up everyone, it's your boy Dak908 aka the Dig Dug himself, and today, well not everyone, RoboFiends, this is special, but today we have that UNAC build I've been talking about making for a really long time. It took quite a bit to do it, a lot of research and development. I had to build the AC itself, and then I had to do the programming of the UNAC again. But big shout outs to FromCheng who helped me out. He handed me a little snippet information. There's his forum, Armored Core Legacy. On that forum there was a post or post topic. I'm not big with forums, but there was a thing where a member, MoonWalker4, he pretty much put down some guidelines to how to do the UNAC. So I will honestly admit it helped me out a lot too, because I didn't really know too much about UNACs. So if you guys can seriously give them a chance, go out there and check out the Armored Core Legacy webpage, and sign up if you haven't, and give my man FromCheng a huge subscription from me. RoboFiends unite together. We're in this together, guys. Come on, he helps me out a lot. You guys should help him as well. But last time I did this video, I did this thing twice. It was 45 minutes long, so let's go ahead and try to cut back some time on that. What I'm going to jump to first, I'm going to jump to the actual build of the UNAC, and then we're going to go into the programming, which I'll probably go into quite a bit of detail and try not to fumble my words over. Okay, starting from the bottom like you always do, I chose to go with LO3 frequency. I chose these legs because of two things. They had the movement speed that I wanted, and the AP and everything. It had the package that I wanted. The deal for my UNAC. Granted, in some cases, people could have said that these legs right here were better. True, definitely true. But I kind of wanted, the mobility just a little bit. I could have ran with these. They have great mobility, great low capacity, and everything like that. But they don't have the defenses that I want per se. So I kind of went with the balance between speed and defense with these legs right here. Okay, moving over to the arms, I chose the Alberto Gunther edition of the Age Mock Model 1s, which are these Age Mocks right here. But I chose this one because of the lower weight, lower energy consumption, and honestly, I think that's seriously it. Yeah, lower weight, lower energy consumption. Because at the time I was running low on some weight. I'm still running low on weight, as you can see right there. Core, I'm running the CC121. Again, for the weight and energy consumption as well. It has really good AP, and the defenses are okay. Granted, they could have been better. They're not the best, as you can see, but it's okay. I'm fine with that. Our head, I had to go with some high tier stuff here. I had to pull out the Beowulf head again. Reason being because UNACs, they like to scan quite a bit, and then at the beginning of the match they'll scan for the closest target. So I told myself, well, why not have the ability to scan further and to actually have a longer reach for its lock on. More him than me, because I'm gonna get into the fight. I want him to stay back a little bit, for a bit more survivability. So I gave him this head right here. We all know what Beowulf's about, and we know what it could do. Moving over to the FCS, I chose FA108. Again, energy consumption. I'm just trying to give my UNAC no reason to actually go into scan, because you can get him to go into scan mode to restore energy, but I don't really want to give him a reason to do that. I want him to stay on the go the entire time. So I'm cutting back a lot of things for energy consumption. Although the FCS I did want to run Glance. Granted, the energy consumption is double that, but we all know that lock-on range is so sweet to our ears. So you can run this FCS. The Glance is the one I initially wanted to, but this one, it's actually not too bad. Maybe a lower grade model, but it's not too bad. Generators, this one, again, just for the energy recovery, so I can stay on the go and everything. It's not necessarily high boosting like I would normally high boost, so I'm not concerned about that. So it'll high boost, but it won't over boost. That's not even the technical term. The over boost is an Armored Core 4 term, but it's what I call when you tap square and it pulses, use up a large amount of energy. But whatever, it doesn't do that. But this again is for the energy recovery factor that we have going on, because we do have a pulse machine gun in the back. Alright, boosters, we're running Shinatsu. Coupled with this booster and this generator equates to unlimited boosting, so might as well just give it to him. Recon units, recon unit. Now up to the weapons. Now we're running the Tanzi rifle and the Strakoza battle rifle. The 1-2 punch, you can't beat it. It's a classic, it's literally as classic as peanut butter and jelly, so why not beat it? Tanzi rifle for the kinetic, and then Strakoza bringing up that chemical. Literally, we all know what this is about. If we reach this far, we know why these weapons are up front. Okay, moving over to the shoulder unit. Now, I gave him the plasma missile for 2 reasons. One, again, a lot of people sleep on thermal resistances, and 2, it has an explosive radius. I mean, you can't beat it. Granted, it's not fast. It's quite slow, actually, but the explosive radius kind of makes up for that. It has pretty good, ammo count as well, so I'm not mad at that. One problem though, it's again, I did say it was slow. It's crawling. So if he shoots off the missile and the enemy encroaches, the missile might come back and tag both of you. So that's sometimes a problem, but all in all, pretty useful missile. Okay, pulse machine gun in the back as well as a heat machine gun in the back. Now I'm running this for the same reasons to why people sleep on certain defenses, and later on I'll talk about why in further details to why both of these are in the back and why they're both machine guns. That has to do with the UNAC's programming. But this is the build. It's a fairly simple build, really balanced if you check it out. Pretty balanced in my opinion, really balanced. He covers, pretty much all it needs to be covered. He's right down the middle in half. Not too fast, not too slow, not too weak. He'll get the job done. Okay, now let's actually get into what the whole main reason this video is for. Now I'm going to try and crunch it down a bit in time, and hopefully you guys can understand it. Now before you go to make your UNAC, please, I strongly urge you to expand your UNAC. You can expand your UNAC in 2 ways. You can actually use your own money to expand the UNAC, like I can select on, let's go to targeting. It's the lowest. I can select targeting and use the money that I own. I can just like upgrade it like that, boom, 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 not going to need the money. Or you can go to an operation file, which is basically you just going out and doing stuff, you know what I mean? If you go out on a sortie or whatever, like for instance, let's just use this one right here I have. We're gonna expand our UNAC with this. When you expand UNAC, it'll give you all the players that was in the match, be it your team, Mercs, the enemy team, whatever. And what you can do is you can just like look for whichever player gave your UNAC the most boost. So let's look around here. I didn't do too hot. Man did some good right there. Okay, let's go with my man right here. All right. Once you use it to outfit your UNAC, you can't use the same one again, but you can it's easy to get operation files. You go out and do missions. Now, when you actually use operation files to upgrade your stuff, you get chips. Now you get chips. They're basically the things that your UNAC can do. It's like I can't even really like explain it too well, but just know that the more chips, the better. It's like a deck. All right, for going back in the day, it's like Yu-Gi-Oh cards. The more cards, the better. You know what I mean? The more variety of cards, the better. It's just like parts. Yeah, just think of it in Armor Core universe. Just think of it like more parts. Okay, there we go. All right, now let's actually go into the program of the UNAC, so I can show you guys pretty much what is what and how everything goes down. I'm going to try and explain this in as much detail as I can without actually drowning on too much longer, so let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, now this build is going to be a particular build. You can actually have 3 operations for your UNAC. Your first operation will be this one here, your second one will be this one, and then you get a third one down the line. I have not unlocked that third one, but due to not trying to like kill ourselves, try to just understand things without trying to shove a bunch of information down your throat, we're going to work on 1 operation. 2 operations, it is possible, but it's a lot more confusing in a sense, so we're just gonna pull it back a little bit and just work on 1. 1 operation to still make your UNAC perform admirably. Like my UNAC right now performs great on just 1 operation. Heck, my UNAC is actually taking out enemy targets, not AI controlled, enemy like player targets, and it's actually lasted longer than some of the mercenaries that I put them on for. So hey, I'm doing something right. Okay, going into the operation right here. Now at the very tip top of the operation, or the tip top of the tier, is your operation tier. You can read the description on the side there, but basically it pretty much holds down all the stuff your UNAC's gonna do. So let's move down a tier and go into movement. Yeah, you have the movement category. You have the right arm attack, the left arm attack, the shoulders, the detection, targeting, evasion, special movement, special action. I think that's all the categories within this tier, but unless you've expanded your UNAC exponentially, you probably won't have all of these available to you. So let's just go off of the assumptions that you do, and you did expand your UNAC as much as I told you to do as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. Starting off with movement, this is pretty much going to control and dictate how your UNAC is going to move by himself. Now, within all these categories, is one thing I have to note. If you look at the bottom left hand corner where it says movement category and then brackets or quotations says order, what that says, the order actually means something, because you have order, which means that underneath that, which will be these 3 action tiers here, they will go in order. So whatever action this is, he'll do this first, he'll do the second, he'll do this third, and then he'll go back to first in order. You know what I mean? It's simple. Some of them, they have probability, which means that if I use this one, it'll do all 3 at different probability rates. So let's say it has an 80% chance to do the first one, a 50% chance to do the second one, 30% chance to do the third one. It's kind of a randomizer, so to speak. And then the other one has fixed, which means it will do one thing once, straightforward. That's all it's gonna do. None of these are actually bad. They're all like good in their own ways, but I'm gonna go for order because it's simple and you know what to expect out of your UNAC and how it will perform. So going into the first one, we have let's actually get the grid up here. We have bottom left again, movement action, move forward, close, left, which means is, well, close. He'll move forward, all right, at the opponent, but to the left hand side of the opponent. Okay, that's actually pretty decent tactic. Call it strafing, if you will, in a sense. So he'll do that, and then next he'll move backwards. He'll move back, because this, if you look at the bottom left again, movement action, move forward, medium left. And if you look at the grid up here, the picture of him actually performing his actions, he'll move up and then move backwards and strafe out. And once he meets that other strafe, he'll come back to the other side. Because on the third tier, I have move right, and the other one is move left. So kind of strafes around the sides a bit, and then he comes back to moving closer to you. So now let's actually get into what all this mumbo jumbo means. Now, if you look at the right hand side, actually let me get the thing up here for you. It has duration, target range, distance uncertainty, relative elevation, and target angle, and angle uncertainty. We're not really going to mess with angle uncertainty, which, if you read the description, is basically what it is. The UNAC is normally smart enough to actually worry about that, so just leave those things at default. Leave your angle uncertainty by default, target angle by default, relative elevation by default on your close range game. We'll get into relative elevation later on. Now let's get into the top. Now duration. Duration means, well, it says 5, which goes for 5 seconds. Now, what that means is he'll approach the enemy target for 5 seconds. Okay, and then when he actually reaches his target range, which is 50, he'll back up. Now you can actually put your duration down to 1, which means he'll come swooping in really quickly to get to that target range, but after that 1 second is up, whether he reaches it or not, he'll back up and do the rest of his order. So you want to leave it at 5 so he actually has time to get into 50. I know this is not going to take too long to get into 50, it won't take 5 seconds, but allow him to actually work within that space between where he's at and 50 within that 5 seconds. Give him time to think about other things he can be doing, which we'll get into later because the UNACs think a lot. Alright, moving over to, let's abandon these settings. Moving over to the movement left one. Now, this one is a bit different. We're going to leave the durations on all of these at 5. Give them time to strafe around and think about it. We're going to leave that at 5, that's fine. But we're going to squeeze in the target range a bit. Now, the target range was initially at 250. We're going to bring it in a bit so he doesn't actually, so him and the target don't lose too much spacing from each other, so he can actually still fire his weapons effectively. Because whatever range you set them to, they will do their damnedest to stay at that range. So at around 200 from the enemy target isn't too bad. That's good mid-range combat. Alright, distance uncertainty, we can leave that alone. But relative elevation, we're going to increase that to 20. Now, what relative elevation is, when you go play some PvP, pretty much the guy who's above you is going to stay above you, and he's going to dominate you, right? It happens all the time. Because we all know it's a lot easier to aim down than it is to aim up. So if your UNAC is up and the enemy is down, that it creates the same simulation effect to where he can actually do, probably lay down a bit more bit more precise fire on the enemy while the enemy can't really get him too well up above. I use this tactic all the time, especially in my quads. Everybody should use them if you're in a quad. So that's what we're running that on here. We're running the same exact setup on the other side as well. Granted, one thing though, his target range actually been increased a bit more to will actually be increased from the standard being 150, because if you look at the bottom left, he's a move forward close medium. He's still medium, but he's close medium. I did the close medium and actually messed with his target range a little bit, because since this is the third chip, when it goes from 3 to 1, it's actually going to be, it'll be a slow encroaching, so to speak. So it won't be all the way back in 200. He'll increase, well, he increases or decrease rather his distance between the enemy and where he is from the 210 to the 170, and then straight from the 170 to the 50. So he's slowly coming in within 10 seconds. So giving him that nice little, you know, wave of movement, allowing him to move a bit more freely, more, you know, more dynamic, so to speak. And it also helps as well. Relative elevation is again at 20 and all that good jazz. No mess with anything else. Okay, that's movement. Now moving over to the right arm and left arm. Now the right arm, left arm, you don't really have to mess with too much. I'll explain as to why, because depending if you've actually built your UNAC off of one of the presets, which I pretty much recommend, so they get a lot of the chips laid down for you. What you're gonna want to do is you're gonna actually just want to adjust a couple of things. Now, first you want to make sure that you're not on fixed. Fixed is bad when it comes to this. It's pretty bad. Don't do that. If you can't help it, please don't do fixed. Do condition. Condition. What condition is? Bottom left again. It will, as things changes, the UNAC will say, "Dang, things have changed. Let me change as well." When certain conditions are met, another thing will happen, so to speak. So what we're gonna do here is, on his left and right arm weapons, will be operated with this first chip here. Now this chip is your right and left arm now, but this is where things get interesting. Normally the attack range is on here, it says minimum attack range. Minimum attack range will be at 100. That's cool, 100 attack range. But as soon as that attack range gets broken, he'll switch to his Bay weapons, which we'll get into. Or if he doesn't have any Bay weapons, as soon as that minimum range gets breached and he has no Bay weapons, he will not shoot. He will not shoot. So until he can back up further than 100 range, he won't shoot. So that's pretty bad programming, I believe. So what you want to do is you want to pretty much floor your minimum range to as like close as you can get it. I'm leaving it at 65 because I have Bay weapons. If you want to actually, the reason why I have 65 and I have those Bay weapons equipped, because the Bay weapons, they're machine gun weapons that have higher rate of fire. And when you actually get to a range of 65, that's actually considered pretty close range. So you want to pull out the machine guns that actually lay down as much fire as possible. Also, if you went back to movement, he does that sweeping in movement. So actually, when he gets close to the enemy, he'll switch weapons to the higher rate of fire weapons, which tends to make a bit of sense, you know, if you ask me. So minimum range for rifles. Sorry about that. Minimum range for rifles, in my opinion, should be about 65. Because, you know, at that time their rate of fire isn't the best, and you might want to switch to someone with a bit more rate of fire. Now maximum range will be at 300. Increase the maximum range as far as you can do it, because again, same rule, if he gets past his certain range, he will not shoot. And at 300 range, that's pretty darn far, you know. So I don't think this FCS can even go past 300 range, so he'll be shooting out into the oblivion for no reason anyway. Now make these changes to both arms. You know, left arm, right arm should pretty much be the exact same, regardless of it being a battle rifle, because it will tell you if you click on it, suited for actually optimal for battle rifles, and the other one will say optimal for rifles. No, battle rifles and rifles should be used within the same you know, action. So just leave it at that one. Now one thing I do have to tell you guys is about the minimum and maximum install range. Don't worry about this, don't worry about that, just don't worry about it. Minimum and maximum install range. What that means is, okay, last time it took me a really long time to get this through, but let me try and focus on it here. Minimum install range, that at 150, that is the minimum range that the UNAC will switch from Okay, because we have bay weapons, it's the minimum range the UNAC will switch from its bay weapon to its primary weapon. Okay, maximum range is 250. Max range 250. That's a good distance. At that distance, you the enemy have a little bit of free will, and you can move around a bit. So you can change your weapons at that range. That's comfortable. That's fine. But the minimum install range, you should put that. You can bring it all the way up, especially when you have bay weapons equipped, because if you don't and you leave it, let's say we leave it at 100, all right, we leave it at 100. Get there. Okay, we leave it at 100, and our minimum attack range is 65 now for the primary weapons. Now what this means is, after that range of 65, he'll switch to the bay weapons, which we understood. But if you increase the range between the enemy and you from 65 to 100, which isn't that far, he'll switch back to his primary weapons. Now, I don't know about you, but most combat tends to happen around about, in my opinion, 65 to about 150 anyway. So, well, 65 to about 100, 125, 130, something like that. Close medium range. Now, if you tell the UNAC to leave it, if you leave it at 100, the UNAC will think to itself, okay, every 35 meters between me and the enemy, I have to switch weapons. So UNAC won't be doing a lot of shooting. It'll be doing a lot of switching. Okay, so that's bad. At times where he should be shooting, he's switching weapons constantly over and over again, because your enemy is just basically coming in, coming out at a small range. That's bad news. So you want to increase your minimum install range to 150 to give you a bit more of a buffer. Now 150 for a certain reason. Why 150? Why is it floored? I know you should floor it, but I'm stressing 150, and I'm gonna tell you why. Again, copy these settings for both arms. Your bay weapons, if you go to them, well, to the second chip, you'll go to install location rather. Normally it says right arm or left arm, but you're gonna switch to where it says bay unit. Very important, guys, very important. Do that, please do that. But the minimum attack range on the bay unit is 0. What that means is the enemy and you can be literally touching core pieces and he's still gonna shoot. At 0 range, he will fire. At 150 range, he'll switch to your primary weapons again, which is fine. Why is that fine? Because we already agreed that at 150 range he's gonna switch, right? That's pretty good distance. That's fine, right? Yeah, it works out. Make sure these numbers match. Your maximum attack range and your minimum install range should match. That way, when that range gets met, they switch automatically, like they're supposed to, and there's no complications. Same deal. Minimum install range is at 100, and maximum install range at 150. 150. Don't worry about this install range, because that's pretty much if stuff really gets awkward, the UNAC acts all weird, and you don't have a left bay unit or left or right arm unit. It'll switch this at 150, which is still fine. So don't worry about that. Everything else should be okay. Now these settings here that you see before you, just pretty much, I think these are just base settings. 0 attack range, 150, blah blah blah. Leave these and apply it to your left arm as well. Okay, moving over to the shoulder unit. Shoulder unit, you can leave it under condition as well. If you have fixed or whatnot, it's fine. It's just a shoulder unit. If you're firing missiles, which this UNAC has, just use the standard single fire missile setting. You don't have to change anything to it. It works fine. Oh, I did change the attack range, so it'll keep shooting if it gets further out, because attack range is one thing that you should actually use. Now the minimum attack range, you don't want to set that to 0, because it'll be shooting missiles off right in your face, and these TE missiles don't play. So if you're using TE missiles, leave the minimum range at 100 and increase the maximum attack range to whatever you see fit. That's how I see it. Okay, detection. Now detection is basically how UNAC will perceive the rest of the battlefield. So again, we're gonna run a parallel here, and we're going to use this chip, this non-penetrating chip, as its primary means of surveying the field. Now if you look at the graph here, you see this massively huge cone, right? That's come from my UNAC. Now that's because he's viewing that much of the field at once. Okay, I want him to do that. You make his range 400. It's a decent range. You can increase it, but it costs quite a bit of points to actually do that, to where he's probably looking all the way through the field. That's still fine. If you have the points to do so, go ahead and do it. But you can leave it at bay here, that's fine as well, or increase it, it's up to you. But what you really want to do is you actually want to increase the angle of which you can do this, basically opening up his peripheral vision so he can detect things off to the side of him as well. So just look into that. You know, it does take quite a bit to actually do so, but you want to increase the peripheral vision so he can actually see more than just what's right in front of his face. So that's one thing you should look into. Alright, the other one is a penetrating one. The first one's non-penetrating, the second one will be penetrating, which means he'll be able to detect things basically within his bubble. Now, no matter where you are within his bubble, if you're in his bubble, the smaller blue one right there, he will know exactly where you are. You know, it's penetrating, so to speak. Sonar, if you will, is what it says right there. Now, it says it can't detect enemies through obstacles, which is okay because normally obstacles are actually thicker than what your bubble is, so to speak. So that's perfectly fine. He'll just use scan mode to do that if need be. I didn't really mess with any parameters here, so you can just set that and go home with it. Alright, that's that on detection. Now moving over to targeting. Targeting, I didn't really do too much to it. You might not even have this one. I didn't get this one until like very recently, but if you do have it, mine is fixed because it's the only one I have. And at the range in which I did it, I did it to where if an enemy is at 200 range, wait, excuse me, if there are multiple enemies that are within 200, if there are multiple enemies around, the closest one to 200 range will be the one that my UNAC targets. Fair enough, with that 200 range, he actually stays within his own fight mechanics, which is at about 200 range anyway, so that's fine. And normally at that range, you know, enemies don't necessarily target you so much, they target what's closest to you. So especially when UNACs perform together, they'll probably go off for the one that's straggling the most, and well, coming forward the most. My UNAC kind of stays back a little bit, so he might not be the primary means of attack or off to jump due to his range and his evaluation range as well. So pretty much balancing out what he's doing. He's playing a long range game, so to speak. So I left it at 200 because his movement is at 200, so I want things to kind of balance out, so it kind of works out in my favor. So check that. Now moving over to, I think this is movement, no, evasion. Now evasion is important because you gotta evade to not get hit. So in this one I have it also set to parallel. I only have parallel and fixed, but parallel seems to work for me as well. Now this is pretty straightforward. Now let me cover this one first. This is the jump evasive action. Really, what it means is that your UNAC will just jump, like randomly, not annoyingly, but he'll jump as a means of evasion. Now I don't know if you guys remember too much, but I definitely do. Back in Armored Core 5, when you use the operation, when you're testing an AC and you use the first bipedal computer-controlled AI thingy to like fight against, that computer enemy would jump quite a bit, and I would think, why is he jumping, you know? And it would kind of throw me off that he would jump so much. So I thought, well, if my UNAC jumps like he did, and it threw me off, it might throw off some other people as well. Now granted, the UNAC won't just be jumping for no reason, you know, get himself hurt and whatnot. It's just an evasive tactic if he's on the ground, you know, something like that. He won't just constantly do it, but he will do it, so it's not too big of a deal. I didn't really mess with any parameters when it came to that, so if you have the chip and you want to use it as another means of evasive action, it can't hurt. It's just evasive action. You can use it. But let's get into this one here. Now this one is high boost evasive action at damage, and the caption underneath it says high boost evasion when specific damage is taken over set time. Prioritizes evasion over energy, which is what I do. Get out of the way for getting hit. Screw your energy. Honestly, you're not gonna survive. So at this rate, what this means is at the volume. Alright, the first one is damage volume. Evasive action will be taken after sustaining damage greater than or equal to this value during the period of time specified by the damage time. Now, 200, small amount of damage, right? But really what that means is on the ground. He's on the ground doing this. When you're on the ground, you don't want to stay still anyway, right? You don't stand still. You don't just like slowly move around and take damage. You want to like, you know, evade back and forth, you know, kind of mess up your opponent's lock on. And this shit kind of allows us to do that. Granted, it has to take a little bit of fire to do so, but you know, he moves. You know, that's kind of what you want him to do. You want him to move. You don't want him to just like slowly just stand around. So I chose this one for his first one so that he knows that he has to move all the time. Now, reaction to it, I increased that by quite a bit. You can like boost this all the way to the maximum. I'm pretty sure it'd probably work out better for you, but it kind of takes quite a bit, and I didn't have that many points at the time when I was making the UNAC, but I have quite a bit of points now, so who knows, maybe by cranking up might do some, maybe it won't, but I'm not gonna mess with it right now because the UNAC works fine without it. Oh crap. Okay, sorry about that, I dropped the controller. Next will be action interval. What this means is once evasive action is taken, it cannot be taken again during the interval time. So that's half a second. He will evade every half a second, which is I'm fine with. That's during the time when you evade anyway, because you don't want to evade every 2 seconds. Cause it's like boom, take some damage, take some damage, take some damage, take some damage, boom. You know, you want to like slide around, move around a bit. This is the chip that makes a move. Okay, basically, copy these settings and it works. All right, next one is going to be when he's in the air. Now, I don't know about you, but when I'm in the air, I can take a little bit of damage in the air and then kind of move around, because when you move around in the air, you tend to like lose sight of the enemy a bit more at times. So that's why I chose this one, because you don't want to move around too much in the air, because it costs a lot of energy to move in the air, in my opinion, when you can just like strafe around on the ground and you're more of a target in the air. It's weird for me. I don't like moving too much in the air, so to speak. I prefer to move around lower to the ground, things like that. But anyway, I set the damage volume to 2,000, meaning he'll take 2,000 damage and then move. Kind of a slow reaction time, so to speak, but it allows him to stay on target in the air anyway, since he's going to be doing quite a bit of that due to the elevation we have in his movement. We talked about the jumping. Alright, coming up, almost done here, guys, almost done. Long video. We have the, what is this one? This is the special movement category. Okay, this one is condition as well. In this category, we have pretty much everything is set standard, but what it means is high speed approaches, meaning it'll boost. Okay, it'll boost. It'll like, you know, hold down the L3 or whatever itself, and it'll boost all by itself. I didn't mess with pretty much any of these parameters, if I'm mistaken. I just set it down because it'll just tell him that he needs to do these things. So that's what I did. I didn't mess with any of the parameters of it. Just so long as you have the chips equipped, it'll tell him that he needs to do these things, and that's fine. You know, just get him to do that. The only chip I did mess with though is the acquisition movement action, because when the enemy gets out of your line of sight, he needs to find the enemy again. Now this is basically, you know, boost turning. Well, it's what we do. You know, when you lose sight of the enemy, you kind of like do a weird hooking motion, like you boost backwards, boost around to where, you know, you're facing different direction. He'll just do the same thing, and this is basically what that is. But the only parameter I changed was the range from 70 to 50, which means he won't make such wide turns when doing the turnaround action. So there you have it. Moving over to special action category, we have scan mode and we have recon as well. So what I kind of did, it's on parallel. Do I have more than that? Nope, fix in parallel. Just allow him to use scan mode, guys. Like seriously, allow him to use scan mode. For scan mode, when he's at a 900 range, which is it's a really safe range when it comes to actually looking for targets or who's gonna be your first target or whatnot. I did bring it in a bit so to compensate for the camera that we have, but that was a build from way before when. But since this is the good camera, you can actually back it up a bit if you need be. Scan mode activation, I will have him go into scan mode, so to speak, when he reaches 40 ER, you know, to kind of build up, you know, some ER, so to speak. You know how that goes. And he'll deactivate himself when he gets back to 90. Now, in some cases, that would be a bad move, but since he has that extremely high ER generator, it's no problem at all. So before you actually go into this and start messing with these two modes right here, understand what your generator is capable of doing, how fast it can actually recharge your ER, or your EN rather. So take note of that. Recon units, you could throw up recon units. Just let them have recon units, and that's pretty much the build. That's everything, guys. That's all of it in a nutshell. I cut off some time, but let me actually show you guys how he actually performs in it. So let's go into an operation test really quickly just to get one out so you can see what he can do. You'll see what I'm talking about in some of the things, how he'll perform when moving, and how he'll switch to the weapons, and how he'll start up scan mode right off the jump. So it's kind of cool watching your creation come to life, so to speak. Alright, he encroaches, switches to the weapons, pulls out the machine guns, scan mode because the ER got low. Wait for it, reach 90, he went back. Well, EN, I keep saying ER, it's EN got low. Switched over. Look at him go. He's doing pretty well in my opinion. One thing though, UNACs do have this tendency to not understand that there's like a wall there. Maybe that go into like heavier programming, but right now he kind of has a problem understanding what a wall is. But as you can see, he dispatched the enemy relatively quick, did it in exceptional fashion, didn't lose that much health, and in my opinion, he passed. So hope you guys enjoyed the build. I know it was a long video to watch through, but because it was so much work to get him done, I mean hours of work from 7 a.m. to yesterday, 7 a.m. yesterday to 3 p.m. yesterday. I sat down like finalizing the build, but it takes so long. Since it took so long to do this, can I get a like? Really? I know if you made it to the end of the video so far, you kind of deserve, you know, to treat yourselves to liking my video. Yay! And don't forget to subscribe to FromCheng. Go check out the Armor Core Legacy forum page and everything. But that's all the time I got for you guys today. It's been your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself. Robofiends Unite. If you guys made it this far, you're amazing. I hope you enjoyed the UNAC build, and I hope it works out for you. If it doesn't work out for you, holla at me so we can get some stuff worked out. But if you don't like the video, again, because it didn't work for you, you can dislike it. That's perfectly fine. It's been your boy. Take care.